Hello, Veronica. We're going to take a look at your postings for the class right now. So let me go ahead and screen share so we can get started. Looking up now, I did notice that I did not see your rule of thirds project up there, so we'll chat about that in class. We'll find out what exactly happened to that. You may have sent me a message or something concerning that I'm forgetting, but we'll definitely chat about that. But let's put that aside and take a look at your emphasis, your first project here. First thing I like to do here is to just kind of, excuse me, just kind of go over the entire project to look at whether you're able to follow the basic outline of instructions, whether in this case you're starting from a long distance and then kind of cutting that in half and cutting that in half. The reason we're doing the cutting in half is so that as you get closer to the object, which in this case is a building, that we can definitely see that you're coming in. It'd be one thing for me to say, take a series of photographs and then I want you to get closer and then I want you to get closer again slowly until you get so close. I could have described it in much more vague terms to allow what might have seemed more freedom. However, what tends to happen there is there's a subtlety that happens where you can't tell how if you're closer or not closer. By saying cut it in half, you're getting so much closer by cutting it in half that there's no question you've gone from distance A to distance B. That way we know that you're challenged with a new perspective, so that it's the viewer actually sees that you have changed the way that you're showing them the scene. This is important. It also tells me a little bit something about where your comfort level is. Each image maker, each photographer, each artist is going to have a certain sort of perspective or distance that they like to work in, whether it's photography or drawing or whatnot, the scale that they like to work in. Sometimes they like things to be far away from them. Sometimes people like things very close up. And so this will tell me that as well. So it looks like you're doing that in a pretty good way. You got here, clearly you've cut that in half and cut it in half again. You're getting closer. Now this might have been where you got closer and then you're photographing something that's a little bit more far away. Same thing here. And then it kind of is happening again here because this looks like it's taken from farther back. So it gets a little bit ambiguous as we get toward the end here. Very cool looking door, by the way. So that becomes a little bit of a challenge to decide how that's working. So with that, let's kind of take a look at the compositions themselves and talk a little bit about what the compositions are all about. As we move forward in the class, our compositions are going to improve. This being the first project, I'm mainly concerned about observing. I want to see what you know already. In a lot of ways, this is telling me where the class is as a whole, what kind of things we need to work on, and so on. So I'm looking at this image for, of course, following instructions, but also where are you in terms of being able to organize things in front of you? How closely are you paying attention to things that are in front of you and stuff like that? For instance, how much is this car needed in the photograph in order for it to be necessary? Is this your car? Could you have moved it? Is there another perspective you might have taken at this distance so that the car wasn't a factor and no longer there? If that car wasn't there, how would it affect and change the image? Would it be better? Would it be not? So it's better. I would wager it would be a little bit better. I think it's kind of interfering with the lines and the sort of overall composition of the space. I don't know that it's contributing exactly to it. These are observations. These are not criticisms. I don't do criticisms. What I talk about is what I see. And I offer you the benefit of my experience just in terms of what I see, because we've been doing this for a long time. We can kind of see things very quickly. Another thing that I do see is something that is good but could be improved, of course. What you're doing here, whether you did it deliberately or not, I hope you did it deliberately, is we have this yellow and we have this yellow. That's a really good thing. Okay, whether you meant to do that or not, I'm pointing it out. Yellow, yellow. Why is that such a good thing? What it is you're creating this this sort of common connection between one side of the composition and another side of the composition. The viewer is going to be seeing this yellow, and then when their eye moves over here, and even back in here, they're going to be picking up on that same color over and over again, and the eye is going to make those connections and relate to those things. This is excellent. When you see that happening within a scene with the camera, you want to take full advantage of that. And I think it kind of happened maybe by accident, because it doesn't look like you're using it as well as you could be using it. So I'm pointing that out because you have a really good opportunity here, and I want you to make sure to pay attention to those kinds of things. Also right here, where the building is sort of cut, this downward here, that is not necessary. So we could have cropped the image, or you could have somehow moved over just a little bit so that the image stops here, allowing more of this to show up so that you are in fact connecting this and this a little bit better. This all may seem like minor, nitpicky kind of stuff, but that's what composition is. Just like if I were to be looking at a poem, we would be looking at individual words and thinking, is this word the best, or is there just a slightly different variant that we might have used that would make it flow a little bit better, that kind of stuff. That's what we do. It's what we're here for. So looking through the images then, as you move around, this looks like a somewhat of a sweet spot for you. You've done a very good job here. Also, you've done a very good job here. So this distance seems to be comfortable to you. This distance, which is kind of like what this distance is. This distance also is fairly comfortable for you. You're taking advantage of the full frame. Everything within the picture frame seems to be happening fairly easily for you. You also seem to appreciate and like, because you're presenting it to us not once, twice, 3 times already, essential composition, which goes along, I think, a little bit with the content here, with the sort of iconography that's here, the altars, that kind of stuff. It works. It works very well for this. It doesn't work for everything, but it does in fact work in this case. Super cool building. I really like it. So you're taking advantage of a lot of these things here. I'm confused a little bit about this one, how we backed up, why that one was here. I think somehow we got backed out. We should be progressively getting closer and closer and closer to the objects, and somehow we sort of got backed away. Light, we'll talk more about light. Light's a tricky one when we work. Really good job on texture, but you should have been right up on the door at this point for texture. And same thing with as I see it. As I see it, you should have been like practically nose on the wall kind of stuff. That's the whole point, is how are you dealing with these different types of distances? So some excellent stuff. Hopefully the little bit of information that I'm offering you is helpful there. I think you've got some really interesting images, and we'll talk a little bit more about the rule of thirds, what happened there, why we didn't find it on the blog. Maybe there was a technical problem there. Like I said, you may have messaged me and I'm just not remembering that you messaged me about it, but we'll chat. We'll make sure that you get that to me. I don't want something like that to trip you up for the semester or anything like that. So that's what I have for you. I look forward to seeing more of your images, and we'll see you in class. All right, bye-bye now.